What's going on, ghouls and goblins? This is Josh Morris with the Everything Paranormal Show. And tonight we are going to be talking about the creepy black eyed children. That's right. So, as a request by my wife, who really is the one that kind of stumbled across the urban legend originally, so she's kind of looked into them, mysteriously. And she said, Josh, you really need to do a show on the Black Eyed Children. And I said, why not? Why not? Let's do it. Okay, so before we dive right in, just want to say, how are you folks doing tonight? Those of you that are joining me live, you're always welcome to jump in and participate. If you have any experiences, we're going to be talking about these mysterious urban legends known again as the black-eyed children. And if you don't know what they look like, let me just kind of show you a brief image. We're talking about children that have obviously black eyes, no whites. Okay, so you tend to see some of them. Yeah, now do you guys know what I'm talking about? All right, so I'm just showing you some of the different images there now. Now, obviously, I think, obviously some of these are probably faked. Okay, don't get me wrong. Again, I don't want you to think that I think that they're all real, but it's an urban legend. So let's dive right in and start talking about this. So first of all, as the urban legend goes, all right, these black children just show up in the middle of the night. Now they can approach you. You can be in a home, you could be in a vehicle, but they will approach you out of just mysteriously, and you'll hear a knock at the door, and you'll go to see who it is, and usually it is a child with black eyes. Now, a lot of times they won't show you their eyes at first. This is what kind of makes it a little creepy. A lot of times they're looking down. Sometimes they have a hoodie on or a hat, those type of things. They may be looking down, and the urban legend goes is that they actually will ask for help. So it could be that maybe they want you to ask them to come in. Maybe they want you to buy something from them, but they don't appear to be holding anything. So you have to be careful. And apparently, what they're trying to do is they're trying to get your permission to help. They're trying to get you to say yes. And once they do, then they show you their eyes, and they come in your home or whatever, and then you are haunted from there. You are plagued after that. So there's just dozens and dozens of stories of these black children out there. There has been photos that surfaced of black-eyed children. However, just like with anything, are these photos faked? Are they real? Again, as I kind of went through some of these are just some of the ones that you find on the internet right off the bat. But again, are these, did this little girl here, for example, are these dark rings? Are these black eyes? Did she, you know what I mean? And again, this is why I say it's really important to be able to try to analyze the photographs themselves to see if they're doctored. But anyways, this is the urban legend, guys. So dozens of stories, children with black eyes out there. I don't know if any of you have had creepy experiences. So with these dozens of stories, let me look in and show you. So I'm gonna read you guys a little ghost story about this. So as one of the stories goes, it goes like this. In the snowy town in the middle of nowhere in Vermont, there was this elderly couple, and they heard the sound of loud knocks on their door. They opened the door and they saw two children, a boy and a girl. "Parents will be here soon. May we come in?" The children did not make eye contact and just stood there in the doorway. The elderly couple were hesitant, but after a while, they let the boy and girl inside. The kids settled on the couch while the wife made some hot cocoa, and the husband asked them questions that went unanswered. The wife returned and noticed that her cat was scared and angry with her children, or with the children. May we please use the restroom? The wife looked at the kids and she finally saw them. The children's eyes were as black as a starless universe. She directed them to the bathroom and returned to her husband, who was covering his face with his hands. Did you see their eyes? The husband then showed his hands were full of blood from a nosebleed. The power suddenly went out, and the house turned as dark as the kids' eyes. The wife headed to the restroom, was confronted by the voice of the kids at the end of the hall uttering, "Our parents are here." The kids exited the house, leaving the door wide open. The wife noticed that there were two men at the end of the driveway. The men were very tall and slender. The wife waved but did not receive the same friendly gesture. The two men and children then drove away together in one car. The power came back on a little after the kids left. Throughout the next week, weird things were happening in the house. 3 out of the 4 cats went missing, and the 4th had been found dead in a pool of its blood. The husband continued to have nosebleeds and finally went to the doctor, where he was diagnosed with very aggressive skin cancer. The legend even crossed bodies of waters, and even more stories ended up in the UK. So that's just one of the stories of an encounter of these black-eyed children, and there's been dozens of similar reports. So, but hey, I wanted to also take a moment just to say hi to Stacy and Sarah. Thanks for joining us. I don't know if my wife's out there. She might be watching. She might not be able to chat. She's tired. She's just laying in bed watching tonight. So I don't know if she's near her keyboard. So, but she should be around. So anyways, yeah. So black-eyed children. So guys, I was doing some research about black-eyed children, and right now, where the biggest thing that I can find to go back to is 1996. There was some articles regarding, like a report of children with eyes, so that were black. And so this was about as far back as I could really, as far as specifically black-eyed children. So again, I don't know if this is like a Slender Man. Well, Slender Man was a video game, but again, that urban legend where, it's possible that some of these kids, yeah, maybe they have dark eyes in general. I've seen some people that the way that their eyes are, you don't see a lot of white in their eyes, and they have black eyes, period. So sometimes it can almost seem as if they have nothing but black eyes. I don't know. I don't know if this is real or not. The way the stories are, they're very creepy stories, and most of the stories that I've researched tended to end where most people said no, like because the kids were like really creepy, and so most people just didn't help. Whatever, they said no or whatever, so it didn't end. But it was kind of one of those hindsight things where, like, well, the kids never showed me their eyes, and it was really creepy, so they would tell their stories. And then there has been, again, just a couple stories that are out there where children showed their eyes, and later on, paranormal, and they would leave. The children wouldn't seem to attack people. So let's look at another story. In another report, in what's called Bethel's report, Bethel, he describes a late evening out in his vehicle. He had stopped in a parking lot near a movie theater to write a check. He was so absorbed in this that he didn't notice two young boys approach his car. He didn't notice until the older boy tapped the driver's side window. Bethel rolled down his window and noted immediately a soul-racking fear. Excuse me, though he couldn't understand why. The older boy said that, he and his brother wanted to catch a movie and had forgotten their money at home. Could Bethel give them a ride? They assured him that it wouldn't take long. They were just two kids, and that they didn't have a gun. Bethel found the assurances unnerving and noted that the last showing of the film they wanted to see had already started and would be nearly over by the time he could drive them anywhere and get back. In his recount of the incident, he stated that when he broke eye contact with them, his fear became all of the incident. His fear became all encompassing. And it wasn't until he broke eye contact that their eyes became completely blacked out. The older boy began to get frustrated when Bethel made excuses for not giving them a ride and said that they couldn't get into the car unless Bethel said it was okay. After that, Bethel tore out of the parking lot, and to this day, he still stands by his story. So again, it seems as if whatever these black-eyed children are, it seems that they are strict on having permission. It does seem like they are strict on having permission, which makes you believe that. So, right, yeah, Art Bell talked about in the 90s. Well, maybe, yeah, it could have been toward the late 90s, because again, this was 96, I think, was when one of the earliest mentions in an article that was talked about. So could be like toward the late 90s. You might be right. Sarah said, I remember that Coast to Coast episode. Stacey saying, I'm not saying it's aliens, but Sarah says it's probably aliens. It's possible. Although the only thing that would, okay, I guess it would depend on your definition of from another planet, aliens, or aliens as in like a demon, the traditional demon sense, like an inhuman or demonic type of thing. So as we know, as most of us know, in the world of paranormal, demons tend to operate through permissions in a way. They find ways to get permissions from you, not always directly asking you, but it is sort of permission based. So that would, to me, indicate there could be something semi-demonic about this, but it doesn't ever seem to be extremely, PKE type activity going on or poltergeist activity associated with it. So again, it is odd. So I don't know if it's just another version or maybe it's just an urban myth. What's going on, ICU? I hope you're doing good. And it does, yes. Black-eyed kids look creepy. They do. They always look kind of creepy. This one's pretty small. I wish that would have been bigger. I thought it was going to be bigger. But yeah, some of these kids. Can you imagine this on your Ring doorbell or your doorbell? Like, actually, I don't have a Ring, but I have a video doorbell. It's but can you imagine this? This kid just standing out there. You want to buy some Boy Scout cookies? I don't know. Do they have Boy Scout cookies? I don't know. But yeah, that's creepy. I'd probably get on the intercom, since we have the fancy doorbells now with the microphone. I would get on there and be like, "Go away, just go away." Like, I got a gun, go away. Anyways, yeah, that little kid, he's not selling candy bars for his school, is he? I don't think so. Someone in Utah had one of those on their Ring video. See, that's what I'm saying. They're surfacing, they're out there. But again, is it a combination of things? Realistically, is it the fact that some of these doorbells may not be capturing the whites in their eyes, a little bit of pixelation on top of dark eyes. And some kids almost, and I know even when I was younger, sometimes some of the girls used to ask me if I was wearing my mascara sometimes because my eyelids or my eyelashes were very full and darker when I was younger. And so sometimes some of these young kids, they may have those eyelashes in combination with the dark eyes. And then you get on a doorbell. Now, this kid clearly, again, I think this is probably a little bit of Photoshop enhancement, but I'm just saying, I really think that some of this could be a variety of either pranks, a combination of possibly. Again, you guys know I'm open. I'm open to ideas. I'm open to things. I just research and I try to look at both sides of the coin, and I try to find the truth somewhere down the middle. There could be some paranormal cases. I see you says at 3 a.m. though. Yeah, I mean, that would be a little creepy at 3 a.m. This kid coming to the door, ding dong. You're just like, who's this at my front door? And then they're just like gone or something. So again, it's hard to say, but I find them creepy, period. Because usually that's also the behavior that makes them creepy too. And then again, so does this mean you should ignore kids when they ask for help? Sure. If they ask for, look, if they, and serious, don't ignore kids. But seriously, if the kids won't make eye contact with you and they're being creepy, then say no. Then it's okay. Say no. Shut the door, see you later, and drive away. If you're in a car, whatever it is, get out of there. So, but yeah, and it could be a prank. Again, we have a combination of things that it could possibly be. That's how urban legends can happen, though, easily. All it takes is one incident, and sometimes it's like a lot of times it's just rumors. But even if you have an incident behind an urban legend, it's like that one exception, and then all of a sudden everybody's seeing them, and then you start getting these kids. And here's an example, and I don't have it. Let me look here. But there was one example I saw where they were like, oh, there's a black-eyed, a child caught on tape. But really, it was like this is I don't want to get copyright. But all right, I don't want to get copyright. So, but look, there's a couple videos that are out there of black-eyed children that if you objectively watch, if somebody didn't sort of guide you into that thinking, if they just said, hey, check out this video, and you watched it, you would just probably look at that as, oh my God, look at that creepy demonic figure in the bushes. Or, some of them don't even necessarily look exactly like children. They just look like normal ghost pictures. And a lot of times with ghosts, you can't quite always see their eyes sometimes. Sometimes they do have that kind of dark eyes in some of the ghost visuals. So to just add the word black-eyed children to some of those ghost images, like, look, they captured a black-eyed child on camera. When in all actuality, to me, it could have been any other ghost video that we watch. And then some of the other ones that I've seen are just pretty fake. You can tell. A lot of these pictures, I think every single one of these pictures is probably fake. I don't see. The only one I would say out of these pictures, which I'm sorry, let me blow it up a little bit more. That's about as big. Sorry, I couldn't get this picture even bigger. But this little girl here, when you kind of zoom in, she doesn't look like she's having a very good day. I mean, if you really look, these almost look like black eyes, like actual like black eye, like being punched in the eyes or something like that. Or panda. I hate to say that, but you look at this, you can almost see a little bit of whites possibly in there in this old photograph. So yeah, she doesn't look alive. Well, I think she's alive. I mean, I really do. I think she's alive. But again, I think that this, again, I really do. I think these look more like black eyes. If this is real and this is not photoshopped, you know, she probably had a couple black eyes. They took a picture of her. Maybe they even documented the evidence or whatever the case was. Maybe they documented it. And she doesn't look happy. Of course, a lot of people back then weren't happy, you know, posing for pictures. But well, yeah, it looks like the where they photo dead kids. I mean, in a way, but you know, clearly, I think you can tell if you look at the background, she is standing up. I don't see her sort of laid out. They kind of posed them a little differently as well. This one, she looks like she's standing and she looks like she's alive. And again, it just all I'm saying is I really think that in this case, those aren't just black eyes. The whites being black, but those are actual punch in the eye black eye. That's what I think on this one. And of course, like I said, these other ones, you know, these are all kind of Photoshop in my opinion. You know, this one clearly is photoshopped. You know? But yeah, I mean, and I think so. I think really between all of that, I think that's where you're going to get some of that urban legend between the photos circulating out there, or photoshopped, or the little girl with the black eyes, things like that. You get the stories, the urban legends. That's why I wanted to read you guys a couple of the stories. I thought that'd be pretty cool to, you know, hear a couple of ghost story type things tonight. Let's see. I was just looking to see if there was another one on this article. Had a few different articles I've been reading and checking out. And I found a couple that had some stories in them. So, but really that's about it. I don't think there's a lot of in-depth to black-eyed children. It's not as an in-depth subject as like demons or ghosts, things like that, because I think all day long, you guys can debate whether you think they're real. What do you guys think? You guys think that these black-eyed children are real or not? What do you think? Let me know in the chat if you guys think that black-eyed children do exist as a real thing. Now let's look at the medical term, right? Let's look at medical. So, I guess the biggest thing would be, is there a medical condition that, let's see, I didn't even think about this until now, but yeah, let's so there is a medical condition. Of course there is. Right here. So you got raccoon. I got God, this poor individual. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to make fun of them, but man, they look like a zombie. I mean, that's scary. But I guess in the dark too, if you were a child and you had raccoon eyes, is what they call. That could be from skull fractures, facial fractures, things like that. So obviously certain traumas, and that could have been like a little girl that we saw. She could have suffered some kind of head trauma and or fell out of a tree house or something back then. You know, we used to all play outside, run around, and a lot of physical things would happen to us. So who knows? Maybe she hit her head and got a couple black eyes. She got raccoon eyes and got a picture going. But so is there a medical condition that gives you black eyes? Most everything looks like it's going to be bruising around the eye. Huh. Now, I, huh. So here's one, black eyes. There's an eye disorder known as neridia, which makes the eye appear to have no iris. In truth, there's a small ring of iris tissue, but it's so small that the pupil is so large it can look like the eyes are completely backed black. It is due to a chromosome mutation. So there you go. We just solved it, folks. We just solved it right here. Black eyes. Well, I mean, it's possible. Oh, page not found. Oh, and the plot thickens. Ah, the plot thickens. The page is not found. Is there a mystery? Is there a conspiracy behind the black eyes? What do we got? So Bob popped in. Hey, Bob, I'm late. Do I have permission to listen, or will I need to be punished first? I don't know. You might enjoy the punishment, so no, we're not going to punish you. Stacy Amazon said Amazon Prime has the movie Let Me In about the black-eyed children. Interesting. And I just checked my neighbor's Ring vid post and saw someone posted a kid trying to climb someone's fence in the dark, and he has a hood on and can't see his eyes face though. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. There's a lot of kids screwing around and causing pranks, things like that. But then there's the black-eyed children. That's the creepy version. But at least we know that there is potentially a. Let's get back in here to some pictures. There we go. There we go. I like leaving on this hoodie kid because it really shows what we're talking about. So, but yeah, so there's another possibility that an anaria or whatever it is, the anaria. Anyways, maybe that medical condition happens to some of these kids, and it growing up with these black eyes could potentially cause them to be social outcasts, which would make them a little different, a little odd. So maybe approaching some of these kids that are approaching people's houses or cars, asking for money, rides, selling stuff. It's possible. And some of these kids may be social outcasts where they're pulling pranks. Maybe they've gotten to a part of their childhood where they said, hey, I'm going to roll with this and I'm going to scare people with it. They might find that, it's like that bully effect when these kids get bullied, but then they find that their disability, they can actually use that to make people laugh or entertain people, things like that. So some kids will do that. It's possible. I'm just throwing this out there now that we did a little bit of research live on the live show. That's why I love you guys. We figure this stuff out. See, we solved black-eyed children right here on this show, folks. It's a medical term. I knew it. It's a medical condition. What do you guys think? You think it is? I think it could be. There's just not it's creepy because they put, especially if you guys watch like what is it, like Chills and some of these top 5, like Nuke's top 5, Chills, whenever they do the top stuff, and they have like the top 5 like black-eyed children caught on tape, whatever. So you get some of these, and it's really creepy to see them in the videos. But again, a lot of it does seem like they could be Photoshopped. But then now it makes sense where some of these could actually have that condition. I'm not saying that this kid in this picture has that condition, but he might. I mean, you never know. Bob says there's some full cover contacts that makes your eyes look totally black. They're used during some haunted house fun. I mean, yeah. I mean, contacts is always the possibility. I don't know if children are really getting a hold of these full cover contacts and putting them in their eyes and all that stuff. I know typically they don't let most kids have contacts until they're at least 16, usually. Now, I don't know what the legalities are. I know 16 was an age for a while. I'm not sure how young they're doing the age limit on contacts anymore. But even the full covered, ones, I'm not sure if they would, you know, again, I personally think if it's anything, it's going to be the medical thing, most likely, or if it's paranormal. Again, I think it potentially could be demonic related, only because they seem to be so hell bent on asking permissions for things. If it was aliens, again, I would think that maybe the permission thing is not, but it could be. I would never rule that out. I'm just speculating along with you guys tonight. So you can buy the colored ones from overseas without a script. Right. The shape, it doesn't take full contacts. They make contacts to just cover your pupil. Yeah, and that's a great point. Again, a lot of times this is black over the entire eye. So again, I personally think it's that medical condition that we found out just a little bit ago, that or and you guys can look it up yourself too, but it's like the arnidia or whatever, where it says that you can have that kind of full black eye. And I personally think that could be the realistic cause behind black-eyed children's stories. Again, are all these stories true? But if you really look at the stories, if you sort of remove yourself from the creepy factor of it, a lot of times, again, these kids are showing up, they're asking for something, and it may seem harmless, and just because they have black colored eyes, again, these people are like end up, hauling butt and running away. So, I don't know. I just thought we would discuss it tonight. I thought it'd be fun to hash it around and debate about it. They aren't medical grade. They're constant, right? Like I said, I just don't think they're contacts. I mean, they could be. I mean, maybe there could be some. And again, this is where urban legends build their strength, is because once there's an urban legend out there, you always get kids that want to enhance that. They have their own stories. They'll go and yes, they'll lie. They'll go into a bathroom, and sometimes they'll even fool themselves into believing something. They'll go in there and they'll do some Bloody Mary thing in the mirror, and they'll swear that they saw red eyes pop in the mirror, or who knows. But they want to enhance that legend, and they want to have their moment of attention. And again, the next thing you know, that story gets spread, like, oh my God, did you hear about Dave in the bathroom? Little Davey, he was in there and he did the Bloody Mary thing, and he spun around and said Bloody Mary 13 times or whatever it is. And he he opened his eyes, and there was Bloody Mary was there, like in with red eyes. And then the next person in the next town's like, dude, Bloody Mary came through the mirror and started choking this kid. And then the next town is like, dude, Bloody Mary killed this kid in the bathroom. I mean, it just grows, right? That's urban legends. They just grow. So some of these kids, it's possible we could have a combination of these things. And that's what makes it a mystery. We could have that some of these kids, maybe, who knows, there could be some demonic possessions. But we could have some of these kids that have the medical condition, and it makes for creepy stories. Then on top of that, we could have kids that are getting their hands on contacts and giving themselves black eyes and going around and being creepy, trying to enhance the story. So we could have a combination of all of those things. But I think it's really cool to talk about this subject tonight. Again, I want to thank my wife for bringing this up in the show. She said, "Hey, you want to just do a show on it, because it's pretty cool topic." And it's not something I think that really gets a lot of attention, again, because it's an urban legend versus the everyday haunting stuff that we do. So I just thought it'd be cool to talk about it. So I got to have a sip of my coffee, though. That's good coffee. It's like vanilla. I got vanilla caramel coffee. I don't do the straight black coffee. Never have. I just can't. I can't do it. Some people do. I can't. I can't do it. I've tried. I've weaned myself down from creamer. Like I keep trying to do less and less and less, and now I can't. I can't. In other news, so some of you might have noticed over this past year, I have gained quite a bit of weight. My weight has gotten out of control, and I am at the heaviest I've ever been in my life a week ago, a week and a half ago. So a week and a half ago, I did start a very strict diet, and I have lost 10 pounds as of Monday morning, and I don't know what I'm up to this week. I weigh myself every Monday morning. So I'm pretty happy about that. Thought I would share with you guys. So hopefully you'll start seeing a more slender Josh again. So when you first started seeing the show back in the day, my face was a little thinner. I still was heavier. I plan on losing quite a bit of weight over the next year, because this is definitely a lifestyle change for me. So I wanted to let you know that's one of the big things for me. I'm very happy about it. Plus, I want to do some more appearances, and I want to start looking a little better on camera. I mean, I hate always having to shoot from chest up all the time. I hate having my body on camera. So, and I figured you guys are like my family, all you guys that watch the show. So, just wanted to share with you. Bob said there could be a possibility that the belief of these children have created tulpas or tulsas or tulpas. But yeah, and it's always possible. Um, Again, I really honestly think it's a combination of. I think it's cool, you know. Um, but but yeah, it's kind of like a tulpa. What Bob is referring to, by the way, ICU is a tulpa is kind of like a doppelganger, I guess you call it, right? Am I understanding that right, Bob? It's kind of like when they create another spiritual, or they create like an object or something through spiritual or mental powers, basically. Um, so I'm not sure. Are you talking about, are they creating, is like, are you saying about they're creating the black eye effect through like mental power, spiritual power, possibly? Um, that could be, maybe, I don't know, witchcraft. you know, let's go with witchcraft on some things. Why not? Let's throw that in there, right? Stacy, you know about witchcraft. You think there's any witchcraft at play here? Any hoodoo or voodoo, anything like that at play? Um, I personally, I don't think I've come across any type of black-eyed children in my investigations. I think they've always, anything I've ever done, it's always just been like EVPs and, again, dark shadows. I've rarely caught some amazing evidence on camera. I would love to say I did, but over the years, it's all EVPs, folks. It's hard to capture video evidence of anything, despite what you see out there on YouTube. But yes, I think, but did that answer it? I think ICU, Bob, you guys good on that? Tulpa, I believe that's what it is, right? If I remember correctly. So beings created out of negative energy. Yeah, Stacy said not likely for the witchcraft. So yeah, I wouldn't think so. But didn't they change their eye color in like The Craft, the movie? Wasn't that like Wiccan or something? Did they change their eye color, their hair colors and stuff like that? That's the movie. Stacy's like, Josh, that's a movie. Duh, don't be stupid. I know, I'm just picking. I'm just picking on myself. I like to play the dumb role sometimes. I see you. Okay. Negative energy is Tulpas created out of negative energy? I always thought it was just out of spiritual energy in general. I didn't know it had to be. Is it always negative energy, Bob? Is that what a tulpa is always created from? I'm just asking for a friend. All right. What else? What else do you guys? You guys want to talk about anything else today? Or you want to stick with black-eyed children? So kind of a short subject tonight, really. It really was. When I did the research for this, it wasn't very deep. That's the thing. There was some stories, which I read you a couple stories that I found, but it's just there's just not a lot to go on other than just some basic photos and of what's out there. We can let's just do something for fun since I have you guys on here, and you guys know I don't have a conventional show. So let's bring you all over here, and we'll explore. Look at this. Here you go. Here's some different black-eyed children. No, I don't want to go to the websites, but look at this. Look at this creepiness. Holy moly. Black-eyed child returns to haunt Canuck Chase, Birmingham, UK. Oh my God. How'd you like to see that at night, huh? How'd you like to just be walking through your house and you just see that little girl, huh? Holy Christ. Jeez. See, like things like this, yeah, just look pretty Photoshop to me. Perfect little round circles. See. Or in your back seat, right? Can you imagine? You're just like driving, and all of a sudden you look in the rearview mirror. Don't you? You guys ever freak yourself out like that? Sometimes you're just driving, and then all of a sudden you think about a horror movie, and you're like, oh my God, and you don't want to look in the back seat in your rearview mirror. Like horror movies, like mess with me because again, and I know I've done this joke with you guys before, but I love it. So you're gonna hear it again. I love because if you grew up in the 70s, the 80s, and of course even getting into the 90s, but you remember, especially like when we started really getting into the horror movie craze in the early 80s with the Freddys and the Jasons and all the different movies out there, the Jaws, all of the horror movies. They were trying to find every way that they could to terrify you. Remember? And they're just like, don't go in the water. Don't go in the closet. Don't look under the bed. Don't go outside. Don't stay indoors. Don't go in the attic. Don't go in the basement. There's like a tagline for like every movie out there. It's like you didn't know what the hell to do. You just don't stay in bed. You're like, what am I supposed to do? Where can I go? Don't go in the car. Don't go in the town. Don't drive anywhere. Anyways, but man, they, like I said, what are you supposed to do? Oh, thanks to the horror prints. But my point was, I got carried away on the movie trailers. But the point is all these horror movies, man. So like now as an adult, it's not that I'm afraid that there's actually going to be a ghost or whatever there, because I deal with real life paranormal. But it's my imagination that scares me the most now, because now I'm picturing when I go to shut the medicine cabinet, right? And it's like, I don't want to look anymore. I just shut the and I look down. I just shut the cabinet and I look down now. I just shut it and look, and then I look up at myself. And I'm like, I do the quick, because I'm paranoid on myself now. Like I think of all these things, right? Horror movies. Ruined you. You mean back when movies were actually scary? These pics remind me of those haunted dolls. So this brings up a point. Stacy Singer brings up a point, and that is when movies were actually scary. Now, when you go back, man, some of these movies were so bad. They were so cheesy. They were, when you look back on them. But again, when you go back, in people, if you're young and you grew up in the 2000s, whatever, if you're more toward the millennial, if you did not grow up with Freddy and Jason and like I said, Carrie, Jaws, Christine, anything Stephen King adaptation, Pet Sematary, any of this stuff, The Shining, which I know Stephen King didn't like, but Stanley Kubrick, right? We liked it. Anyways, if you grew up with all of this stuff, it was scary back then because a lot of this was groundbreaking techniques that were being incorporated. And there was a 3D craze back then also. So everybody had to have a 3D. There was a Jaws 3D, which sucked really bad. There was, Freddy 3D, like they had Nightmare on Elm Street in 3D. Now, Jason, Friday the 13th in 3D. This was Jason 3. Okay. This was the third installment of Jason. And this was the third installment of Jason was in 3D. This was part of that 3D craze back then. And what was really cool is they actually did a good job at it. So for those of you that remember Jason 3, this is the first one. Now, again, people may not even think about this. This is the third Jason installment, but the first time he dons the hockey mask. Yeah. Did you know that? The first one, remember, he wasn't even really in it. It was his mom. He showed up as that weird boy jumping out at the canoe, the lady in the canoe, and the deformed boy. The second one, if you remember, he did not have a hockey mask. He wore like a burlap sack. He was more like the Scarecrow from Batman. Okay? The third one is where he donned the hockey mask. And here's a little bonus for you guys about the hockey mask. So I don't know if the Shape is still watching because the Shape wears hockey masks on a regular basis. But here's a little interesting fact for you guys on the hockey mask. So when they were getting ready to film the third one, they knew that they needed to have a different mask because the burlap sack or the kind of like the hooded mask that they had for him in the second one, they were really going for it in the third one, this 3D one, and they didn't want people to make fun of Jason's character anymore. Like they really wanted to try to get something scary. And if you also remember, in the second one, he was kind of thinner. He was sort of regularly framed in a way, or just sort of a normal shaped individual. Played him with the hood on. In the third one, you got like a huge ripped dude, muscular, somebody that could compete against, Arnold Schwarzenegger or Hulk Hogan back in the day, really ripped dude playing Jason Voorhees. But the art department was trying to figure it out, and it just so happens like the main guy in the art department, he just so happened to have his hockey equipment with him, and he had his hockey mask with him. So the hockey mask became part of the movie. They used it and were like, hey, we love this. And it became iconic. I mean, how crazy is that, right? That just by chance, this guy just happened to bring it. They needed a mask, and it became an icon to this day with the hockey mask. So I always, there was 3. ICU, there's been several Friday the 13th. I can't even tell you. It was like, what is it, 10, 11? There's tons of Jason movies. But yes, the third one was the first one that had the hockey mask, and it stuck ever since then. So I just thought I'd share a little bit of movie history on that, a little bit of movie trivia, I guess you'd say. But yeah, the third one was filmed in 3D, and they done it in such a way, it was pretty intense. You know, like when he shot the arrow into the, it was coming toward the camera and went into the girl's eyes, and the pitchfork would come right at the screen. And anyways, but they actually did a pretty good job compared to some of the other three. There was a bunch of, it's a short craze. Anytime, guys, 3D comes out, it's a short craze. It was a short craze in the 80s, and it was a short craze recently when they had a little bit of a 3D craze. Again, they just can't seem to get it to stick. Now, in the future, we might have a good VR type craze. But Bob says hockey mask, thank goodness he didn't have a jockstrap. Anyways, leave it to Bob. Stacey, Jason 3000. There'd be popcorn everywhere if I watched it. Yeah, posted a link in the trailer. To post a link to the trailer. Yeah, that's cool. But yeah, some BEKs, MIB's children laugh on. Oh yeah, some of the black-eyed kids, MIB's children. Right? Okay, I gotcha. Yeah. So, where were we going with this whole thing, anyways? I totally got sidetracked on Friday the 13th. I think I was just talking to talk about scary movies. Oh yeah, that was a whole thing that Stacy brought up, was movies being scary back then. So what I wanted to say is the effects all back then were all groundbreaking. And so, yes, they kept getting scarier, gory. Some were just really scary without being gory. Some were just really gory, like The Thing and stuff like that. There was, again, just depending what you were into, whether it was the gore or just a good scare or a little bit of both. But they just always kind of got better. Not all movies are good. Again, by today's standards, when you look back and you have like your marathon of scary movies for back in the day, you can watch Nightmare on Elm Street and Freddy, a lot easier than you could back when I was a kid. Like, I wouldn't watch them when I was young. I avoided them as much as I could. And it wasn't until I started getting a little older. And even then, I still don't really like scary movies, even though I've watched a bunch of them. It's kind of like one of those, like, I don't like them. I don't like them. I don't want to watch them. So I still watch them. And then my wife loves them. So she'll, any chance she can get to make us watch a scary movie, she'll do it. But a lot of times I try to resist if I can. But again, back then, I would say there is something to be said about practical effects versus CG. And, the computer graphics back then, if some of these horror movies were able to use CG graphics, a lot of times it was very obvious. There was a few that could use some things sparingly that came out well. But the practical effects, yes, some of us had a good eye for it, and you could kind of tell, but there was just something that inherently made it scarier to me even with the practical effects versus CG type stuff. So I always thought that's pretty cool. And of course, the way they film, and it just depends on what you're really into. I did like a top 25 where I ranked my top 25 scariest movies the scary movies to me. I think I ranked them or something. I don't know. We'll have to do that again this coming up Halloween season, or we'll have to look at doing something like that and talk about some scary movies. I always love talking about the different ones out there. And only scary movie today was The Conjuring. I had a friend who was a Vietnam vet with PTSD. And you had to be careful what you watch around him. Yeah, and that's true. That also is true for Vietnam vets. And that's when you get around some of those people, it's you just don't know, period, what can trigger. Now, if they know, sometimes they can tell you like, hey, certain things trigger me and this and that. I was around a family that had been in an explosion. Their house blew up. They all survived, luckily, but they had PTSD. So you got to say PTSD, but anyways, PTSD, and so I had to be real careful. I couldn't use a drill for certain things, and it's just odd, But what can trigger some people and others not. But but I think that, in all honesty, see, The Conjuring, I guess it just depends on what you find scary. See, and this is where you get into the classic debates, like who thinks what's scarier. And sometimes people are like, oh, that movie was so scary, and then some people will be like, man, that was lame, man. It wasn't scary. This is scary. And then people are like, well, that was lame. So it's a bit like food or an acquired taste, like anything, alcohol, all those things. People have different opinions. It's acquired taste. I think it's just sometimes it's the concepts, it's the scenarios sometimes that just make it scary. If you watch, there's some movies where I'm like, man, this is just not even realistic. I would not even find myself in this situation. So I'm a little more removed from those. That's why, like Friday the 13th situations and things like that, these kids at camp and stuff. I was never in that situation really. So didn't affect me in that type of situation. But there was just certain movies, certain scenes, and sometimes just scenes within movies that are really stick out in my mind. And for some reason, and I'll share one with you guys real quick, and that is if you guys have ever seen the movie Jeepers Creepers. So I thought the first one is a great movie. I think Jeepers Creepers is really good. But there's a part where there's like this tube, right? Where I guess he probably drops down in the bodies. They slide down this, tube. Well, anyways, the one character, the boy character, he ends up down there, and she's looking down this tube, and they're communicating. She can see him down there, and she's communicating. And for some reason, the way that they scored either the music or lack thereof, but the way that they scored that scene, it's like I was so tense and scared for this kid. I just kept thinking something was going to come across that view and just snatch him up. It was so tense for me. There's just certain scenes like that really stand out, and I think it's a testament to some of those directors or their abilities, whether it's that scene or other scenes that can really put you in the moment. So hi, Drew Lee Nicholas. How you doing? For those of you who joined us kind of late on the live stream part of it, we've been sort of talking about movies for the last 15 minutes or so. The Black-Eyed Children. We solved the mystery. So if you don't know what we came up with, you're going to have to go back and watch the show to learn and we solved it. It's completely solved. No more mystery on Black-Eyed Children. We solved it. So go back and watch. So Moises Morales, that is a good tense scene. Yes, again, that's what I'm saying. There's just certain scenes that will stick out in certain movies, and it really got to me. For some reason, again, some people, they can watch that and be like, no big deal. Me, that's just it all depends on what you find scary or that particular moment. I'm trying to think of some other things that really got to me for whatever reasons, but I know that I think one of the scenes with Freddy Krueger with the bed scene probably disturbed me for some reason, but later on as an adult, I started finding it more comical. And the reason why, one of the things that I like about Wes Craven is the subtle humor cues. So for some of you that remember the infamous Johnny Depp getting sucked into the bed and the blood shoots up. So what I like is when the police are there, you can see in the background, if you pay attention to the background, they're like putting pans underneath like the dripping blood, like trying to catch the blood. Like how you put a pan or a bucket under, like a leaky roof. I don't know. Anyways, it's just little things like that. So Karma knows, welcome. Old movie Burnt Offerings creep me out. Yeah, Burnt Offerings. There's now, and see, that's the thing, guys. There's some movies out there like you'll completely forget about, and some of them have some pretty good scares. You'll be surprised. You'll be surprised if you go back. Some of them will hold up pretty good. You go back and watch them. They seem to hold up pretty well. Depending on what you really, again, it just depends on what scares you as an individual. Some people love slasher movies, again, gore. Bob says, I finished an investigation in January where loggers scraped away the tombstone, but F the bodies, left the bodies. My advice to the client was, don't dig a pool. Yeah, right? Poltergeist. Well, they dug a pool there, right? The intro song, If Tales of the Dark Side Creeps Me Out. Yeah, Tales of the Dark Side, or Tales of the Dark Side Creeps Me Out. The intro song. Oh, okay. I was thinking Tales from the Crypt. I was thinking of that for some reason. But yeah, Tales of the Dark Side. There's some really good music out there in some of these movies. There really was. Tales from the Dark Side and Twilight Zone were my favorites. Twilight Zone, the movie. So you talking about like the airplane and John Lithgow? Was it 20,000 miles up? They had it was a 4-part. And that movie suffered a real life tragedy too, where the main actor and a couple of children were killed. And that movie couldn't shake the that tragedy really, because they had to edit. And then not only that, Steven Spielberg had that senior citizen. He directed that senior citizen thing, and where they were his kids, and it's cute, But for a Twilight Zone movie, we wanted to see probably something a little more edgy, I think, from Spielberg. But yeah, still great things. I think the image of that creature on that airplane is out there on the wing always sticks with me as far as the Twilight Zone, the movie. Now, Twilight Zone, the original series was great. There was some things that Rod Serling in his mind was amazing. This guy was a veteran. He was injured in the war. He came back. He really put on an amazing series. Twilight Zone. There was a couple episodes that really stuck out to me. One of my favorites, and it's not so much. I guess it can be scary in a way. And see, that's the cleverness. Is the one where the guy had the watch. He had like the stopwatch that he could like stop time. He could freeze time. And then he's going around and once he figures this out, he's having a good old time. He's like freezing time, doing things, being, and just having a good time. And you're just like, man, yeah. And you are starting to get along with this. They were dragging you along for the ride. And you're like, oh my God, this is so cool. I wish I had a watch where I could stop time and he's stopping time and all this thing. It was so cool. And then he's like robbing a bank. He like stopped time. He's going, he's got this card. He's loading it up. He's got money. And then he like drops the watch and he like runs over it with the cart. And he like breaks the watch and he's like stuck in time. And that's like how it ends. It was like freaky to me. Like when you're a kid or when you're younger and you watch, you're like, oh my God. And it like makes you think, see, they drug you along and that was the whole point. It's like you followed that. They pulled you in that story. Again, the original black and white Twilight Zone series, great, loved it. Then when I did the remake, it was okay. There was when they redid the show later on in color, it was okay. One of the episodes that really stood out to me that creeped me out, and I want to share this real quick because this is definitely something that creeped me out as a kid, is but yeah, Vic Morrow and the two kids, right? That's what I was talking about. So the Twilight Zone, when they started doing some of the color ones, one of the ones I watched that kind of stuck with me, and it freaked me out a little bit for some reason. Is it the guy? And I don't know if any of you remember some of these, but this guy, he had this well, and I don't know why. I can't remember all the exact circumstances, but the guy had this well, and he puts this, the old, like the old buckets, you lower down with the rope and everything, like lower the bucket down, and then you pull some water up. Well, this guy would lower down like food, and then you would hear like this chaotic noise, and the rope would shake and everything, and then the rope would go tight. It would just, the rope would go taut, and he would pull up, and the bucket would be heavier, and he'd pull this bucket up, and it was the bucket, and with all the food, it would be replaced with gold, like gold and jewels. And he was like, oh my God. So then he'd like go back, and then he'd get like more food, and he'd lower it down, and then there'd be even more gold, like gold and jewels inside the bucket. Then he was like lowering down this big turkey and stuff. So then he decided, for whatever reason, again, greed. I'm sure that the point of this episode was greed. There's always a lesson. And so finally, you just see this guy get suited up in like this radiation type suit. He gets all suited up, and he gets his shotgun, and he actually ends up like lowering himself down in this well. And then you just hear this same kind of screams. They don't show anything. You hear the shotgun go off, but you hear all these like these disturbing noises. And then the bucket gets lifted up, and you see the guy, you see the suit, and then the suit comes up out of the well, and all of a sudden the suit busts open, and it's just full of gold and everything, just like the exchange. Whenever you send food down there, you get gold, whatever, back. So this guy went down there, and his suit came back up, and it was replaced with, anyways, it really creeped me out as a kid. I was like, oh my God, that's horrifying. And the sound effects that you could hear going on down there, it left to the imagination. Imagination is powerful. Reminds me, Mel's Hole from Art Bell's old show, rest in peace. The Blob was scary. No way out and no chance to escape. Yeah, believe it or not, guys, like the Blob has kind of gotten pretty cliche, and sometimes can be like a joke. But guys, I mean, especially like the original Blob was good, but in all honesty, I really like the 80s version really well. There was a lot more action to that too. But yeah, the Blob was a good one. A lot of people, again, it's one of those movies who had become a cliche or kind of the butt of a joke sometimes. But really, go back and watch it. You'll be surprised. There's some really intense stuff, because that Blob dissolves humans, and there's some cool stuff in that. But anyways, folks, I just thought we'd spend some time tonight talking about these black-eyed children. Again, I kind of left them up on the screen while we were talking. But guys, it's been a real good episode. I hope you all had fun tonight. And again, whatever you guys think about the black-eyed children, for those of you that have watched this on a replay, hey, pop something in the comments down below. Tell me what you think. Is it a mixture of things like we talked about, or do you believe it's not real, or do you believe it's real? Anyways, folks, remember, seek the truth. We'll see you in the next video, guys.